Yeah. So we talked about tables, which is called object in Salesforce. Objects are of two types in Salesforce: standard and custom. Standard is object which you cannot delete because this is given by Salesforce itself. Custom are the objects which you can delete because it is created by yourself, right? And custom objects ends with underscore C. Automatically, Salesforce will put this in their API names. That is how you can understand it. Apart from that, the fields, standard objects will have standard fields. Custom objects will also have some standard fields which Salesforce automatically creates for us. Apart from that, you can create your own fields. Fields are columns in a table wherein you store your information. Each data will be stored in each separate field. So the field also is underscore C for custom fields. For standard fields, there would not be the underscore C. So we'll see that once again and rejuvenate our memories before we move further. So we talked about relationship between tables. One of the most important relationship we have talked till now is account and contact. Account is the table wherein we store company information. Contact is the company, means the buyer, right? Who is purchasing my products? Buyer companies. And these buyer company employees are getting stored in contacts, right? So if it is a company 1, company 2, company 3, it can have multiple sorry, this is account A, account 2, account 3. It can have contact 1, contact 2. This can have contact 3, contact 4. This can have 2 contacts, contact 5, contact 6, right? So each contact can have multiple contacts associated to that. How do we do that? We in this table we have a thing called account ID.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
These are 3 accounts which I can see over here,
Yeah.
account 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And in this account 1 I'm talking about, there are
Yeah.
2 contacts, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm opening contact 1, then only I can see this C1 and C2. Okay,
No.
I cannot see C1 and C2 from account 2. Is it possible?
Yes, in account 2 has no relationship with C1 and C2. Account 2 is related to C2 and C3 and C4. Yeah, let's see this. We'll see this in details. Let's go to this scribbling first, and then we'll come to Salesforce and understand that thoroughly. So a table will store all accounts, and this table will also store all contacts. So when we translate this into actual tables, how will that look like, right? Let's see that. And we'll see this in Salesforce also. So every table has a Salesforce auto-generated ID field. Yeah, ID. Every table, it will be so account table. This is account table. This is contact table. Contact object will have an ID field. Account object will also have an ID field. Every table will have an ID field, and this ID is generated for each individual row of this table. This would be a 15 character case sensitive or 18 character case insensitive versions. Both versions are available. So let's give them a name: R1, R2, R3. Easy. Here it could be R4, R5, R6. This is unique across the whole Salesforce. So in this org, right? So this R1 will never repeat itself ever. So that is, name field is the mandatory field in account. In contact, we have first name and last name. Last name is mandatory in contact. Apart from that, there is an account ID field here. This is the lookup field. This stores what? This one, R1, R1. Here R2. So we talked about contact 1, right? So contact 1 first name, contact 1 last name, and R1. That is how this contact is related to the first account. Similarly, this contact is also related to first account because this R1 is stored here. I am not storing the name here. Please remember this. I am storing the pointer to this whole row. The point, how will you uniquely identify this row? By this unique number. Just like you have a passport, right? Everybody has a unique passport number. That passport number will not replicate for any Indian citizen, right? That is, your name can repeat, right? there are multiple peoples, maybe thousands of peoples who have the same name as you in India, but your passport number will never repeat. That is how we can or the Aadhaar card, right? Aadhaar card number is a unique number which will never repeat. That is how we can uniquely identify you, that you are the person, and not and differentiation between the other people who has the same name, uniquely identifying yourself. So we will use the unique identifier in the other table to connect this row with other table. Any questions so far? Similarly, R2 will be connected to this one. This is C2F, C2 last name, and this is C3 first name, C3. C3 is now connected to R2. This is account 2. This is how we see that. We'll see this in details. Let's see that. I'm sick of this song. Every time it keeps on. Now, we already saw how the table looks like, right? When we last saw the account. So if we go to the sales app, when we want to see all accounts, we can go and see all accounts here. How many accounts are there? Total 15 accounts are there in this ID, right? And if you want to see the more columns, you can go ahead and you can add more columns here, right? So similarly, contacts will have how many rows? Let's change this list view to all contacts. It has 22, 23 records, right? This is the whole data of account and contact. Now, a sales representative is a sales representative person who is creating or updating any contact one at a time. So they are using one record at a time, and they are updating one record at a time, creating one record at a time. They are a single record creators. But you, as a system administrator, are far more powerful than a normal user. So you have the ability to work on multiple records at the same time. What are the operations that you can do in a table? Let's go and see that first. So in a table, there can be only 4 operations. We call this CRAD or CRED. Same thing, no difference. What does it mean? Create, read, update or edit, same thing, and delete. So many people call it CRAD, many people call it CRED. In Salesforce, we call it CRED. So create, read, edit, delete. What is the basic operation? Can anybody give it right? Basic operation means which operation? Any operation will need that operation first.
Create.
Sir, I can create.
No. Basic operation is read.
Yes, read.
Basic operation is read. Why? Because in a table, first you have to see the data. If you're not able to see data, even if you create it, it makes no sense, right? So read operation is the basic operation of any table. This is a basic access also, we say. That means in order to see the data inside a table, you need the read operation to do. Yeah, you can see your own records. You can see records created by other people, but read is the basic operation. Then we call it write operations. All the three, rest of the three are called write operations. Right? Okay, read and write, simple. So write operation is making modification to the table. Modification table, not to the table structure, but to the table data. Through create, you can create a new row. Through edit, you can update a new row, a existing row. through delete, you can delete a existing row. All these will result in a data change in a table. Read operation does not make any data change. Clear? There are only four operations which you can do on a table. Yeah. The only difference between a normal user and a system administrator is that a normal user will always do these operations on a single record at a time. The system administrator has the powers to do these operations on multiple records at the same time. So we call it bulk operation. Why do you need this power? Because you are working on the behalf of somebody else. Think about existing people were using Excel sheets for maintaining their customers. And now the seller organization decides that we will go with Salesforce and we will load the existing accounts or existing customers we already have in Salesforce. Will you? And it can be thousands because the business was running for years. Will you go and individually create each account again in Salesforce? It's not feasible, right? You have to load all that data one shot. Load it when Salesforce is, we want to start Salesforce, using Salesforce from Excel sheets to Salesforce. So for that, you need a data load. And when you need to load data, you need to have the ability to work on bulk operation. That means you probably are creating 2000 accounts at one shot, or modifying 2000 accounts because their email ID is changed or their contact information changed. Maybe delete these accounts because we are no longer using or doing business with these accounts, right? Run reports on 2000 accounts at a time for what are the customers we have in USA, right? So these are the operations which a common user will never do. For this, you will be called in. You are the administrator and your job would be to do it. So bulk operation is the job of an administrator. Any questions so far? Okay, so now there are multiple tools in which you can work directly in the database. Okay, one of the easiest tool which we will show today is called Workbench. Workbench.developerforce.com. Okay, this uses a language which is called SOQL. You don't have to learn this language. It is very easy. Drag and drop, you can do it and you can learn the language on your own. But we have a separate video to learn the language if you really want to do that. But for basic operations, you don't need it. So let's see how this language works. So what we need to do, all these operations, bulk operations, we want to do it directly in the database. For this, these tools are required. You cannot do this directly in, you can do that in Sales Setup. There is a import wizard also. You see, data import wizard. This can also be used. Okay, we'll see this also. But your Workbench is the easiest way of showing it. So I want to show you the database structure, underlying database, before we move forward. And it is very easy for you to understand. So we are on the account table. How this account table usually looks like. This table basically in the database looks exactly same to an Excel. How do I see it? Let's see that. So here we can go to the query, or here itself we can go to a SQL query. Same thing. Here query or a query. Which object? Account object, right? This is the account object. Select. What is SQL? Salesforce Object Query Language. What it does? It runs and gives you queries. That means read operation, right? The first operation on a table. And you are doing bulk operation. Please remember this. The Salesforce screens, these screens which you have, all these screens are one record at a time, right? This is just one record on that table. But if you want to work on multiple records at the same time, then you have to use this kind of a tool, which the admin will have to use. Let's see, and the basic operation is a count. When you click this, automatically you see the query is getting created for you, and you just need to fire this. Query will return 15 records. So there are 15 records in account table, right? Can we check this? Yeah, it is showing 15 records, isn't it? Give me 1 second. Hello. হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা, এটা সে অসুবিধা নেই, বাট শরীর খারাপ লাগলে আসে তখন। আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, না মনে হয় না কিছু আছে। না, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, মানে কোনো চাপ হলে তাহলে তুমি কাটিয়েও দিতে পারো, তোমার ব্যাপার। হুম হুম, ঠিক আছে। Okay, so now this is the query which is showing 15 records. Now these all the fields of this record, these all fields of the record we can see. So which are the columns we are using? Name, site, billing, phone. Please remember, in Workbench or any other tool, you will not be using the labels. These are labels. If you go and create go to setup, if you go to the object manager, if it's the account record and you see the fields, this is a field label which is shown in UI in the screens, and this is the actual field name which we call as API name. The administrator will always use this one, these fields names, and the normal user will always use this because these will be displayed in the screen. This may or may not be same. You see, account has a space here, but here in field name there is no space. You cannot have space in your API names. So in the Workbench, if you see, account name is basically a name field. So here in Workbench, you have to select the name field. Name field is here. Apart from that, you see the ID field is there. We talked about ID field, right? ID and name is the basic fields of this account. So these are the 15 accounts. These are the 15 accounts which Salesforce has created, and say every record Salesforce has already assigned an ID for it. You can add other columns if you want, just like account number or active. Right? You see all these columns. When you go and change it, it will keep on. So I don't need account number active. I just need ID and name fields for now, because name is the mandatory field. ID is created by Salesforce, but ID is a very critical field. For bulk operations, you will need ID. Otherwise, you will not be able to do those operations. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the first operation is read. So we are doing a bulk read right now, 15 records. Here it is showing in the screen, but you can download it in CSV format. CSV is comma separated values. So it is a file .csv which downloads, and Salesforce only uses CSV. Apart from that, it does not use any file format for data loading and uploading and data changes and everything. The CSV values can be opened in Notepad. If you have Notepad, you can click on it and you open it. Every record or every row will have values which is comma separated. We'll see this. So now I change this to bulk and do a query. And here, this icon I have to click. It will download a CSV file. You see, it's a .csv file. I change this to account CSV, isn't it? Let's open this with Excel. Yes, you see, simple. This is exactly what we have in Salesforce. Isn't it? Same. Edge communication, Salesforce. These are the 15 records which we have in Salesforce. This you have downloaded and now you're looking it in Excel sheet, right? Now, what are the other operations? The first operation which we have is create. So if I want to create a new account, 16th account, right? So let us create Bongbong. So I have the name field in create operation. Do I can remove these fields, not needed. Let's delete it. I want to create a new row because read operations has given us other rows, but here is the new record. I can say now Reebok is also, Reebok was we were using Nike. Let's see, Nike is there. And then basically Microsoft. Yeah, 3 accounts I want to create, right? Do I need the ID field or not?
No, sir.
Why?
No, you need ID field, sir.
There is no, once the record gets created, then only we can get that ID.
Absolutely. ID field is created by Salesforce. So you cannot supply any ID when the creation is getting done. Yeah, please remember that.
That is auto-generated, right?
The auto generated by Salesforce. So now I'm saving this file. I'm doing a save as so that my original account.csv is not impacted. So I have named this as account new. Here I have only the rows which we want to create. I can keep or I can remove this field. It does not matter. I can delete it or I do not need to map when I upload. That is all. I will keep this field for us to understand it, but it is not required. You can remove this. Okay. But here, now let's go to here. The operations are starts. So first is the create operation, right? This is the write operation, number 1. So this is called insert. So which object are we inserting it? Account. Which file? Account new, which has 3 records. Next. Now the columns of the Excel sheet needs to be, this CSV file needs to be mapped with the fields of the Salesforce, right? If the name is exactly similar, this tool will automatically map it. See, the name and name are exactly same. That's why it has already mapped it. Do I have any other column? So you see, ID field is not even there to map. Salesforce is not expecting ID field at all. So I just map one field and confirm insert. See, 3 records has been created. Let's see. I go here. And I can see Bongbong. Sorry, Bongbong is already there. Anyway, 3 records got created, 16, 17, 18, right? Bongbong got created because there was already a Bongbong. I did not see that. So let's now rename this Bongbong, right? So now the operation is to modify the existing records, right? For modifying existing records, it is absolutely essential that I have to provide the ID field. Why? Because you see, this is the situation. I want to change this Bongbong or this Bongbong. Please remember, name is same, but still the ID is different for this Bongbong. You see, this is the ID field. And this has a different ID field. Isn't it? So I copy this from here. I can also copy this from query. I can go and check this ID and name. Once again, here I can download this. I can check the Bongbong here. 2 IDs are there. I can copy it from here also. Usually for a bulk operation, you will first download the file and select which records you want to update and so on. Keep it there and then you modify that. So here I want to change the Bongbong. I will go back to this original file. Open this in Excel once again. Here, this I will put a name for this. and I will say bong bong new, right? Nike, what is the, I have to give a ID for Nike. What is the Nike ID? I will choose it from here. What is the other Excel? Microsoft. Let's see the Microsoft ID. This is the Microsoft ID. So for update operation, ID is absolutely essential, mandatory field. Otherwise, you can make changes. Nike new, Microsoft new. I want to change the names. Yeah, let's save this now as account update. Let's go back to operations. Here now I am doing an update operation. Again, choose a file, update. Next, you see now ID is getting matched with ID because I have a ID field. I have to match this ID field. And name field is, these are all in red because these are mandatory. If you want to change other field name values, you can do that. Map field, confirm update. There are 3 successes. Let's check this. If I now go back to account, all account, you see now bong bong and bong bong new has happened. Nike has changed to Nike new. Microsoft has changed to Microsoft new. So bulk operations, I am changing names of multiple accounts at one shot, right? Similarly, hello. Hello. Okay, so now here is the upset operation. What is upset? Upset is basically in the same Excel sheet. If you want to create and update both at the same time. Yeah. So let's open this once again. Here, I want to change these names now to new one, new one, new one. And I also want to create a new account called Oracle. Here, I don't need the ID because ID will be generated by Salesforce, right? So if I now go to this upset operation, it will update all the rows where there is an ID, and it will create a row where there is no ID. You see, first 3 rows got updated, last row got created. If I go to account again, updated. Apart from that, we have the Oracle. This got created. Okay. Yep. So now what we can do is delete. What is delete? Delete also wants the ID. So what is the ID? Let's go back to our same file. This update file. I don't have the ID for the last row. Let's remove this. Let's delete this 3. Okay, I am not changing the name, don't get confused, but ideally basically I'm doing the delete operation. So I am doing a delete. For delete, you choose the same file. You should rename this to account delete anyway. Map fields, only you see only ID is required for deleting rows. So there are some options which we'll discuss later. Let's do a delete. When we do delete, the 3 rows got deleted from this table. So what are the total number of 19 rows, right? So if I now refresh the screen, 16 rows, 3 rows got deleted. You see this new ones are got deleted. When we delete, just like any other files, Salesforce stores the deleted files into a recycle bin. This is the recycle bin of Salesforce, not the recycle bin of your desktop. So you can bring it back through undelete operation. Use the same thing. You have the IDs again that needs to be given. When you give map fields, confirm undelete, immediately it is brought back. Even the rows got deleted, but now it is back. You see, new Microsoft new local new bong bong new. These rows are back. Okay. I go and what if I want to permanently delete it? In that case, I have to delete first. And you can either check this one, permanently hard delete, or you delete and store it in the recycle bin and then later purge it. Purge is cleaning of recycle bin. So now you select this same record and remove it, map field, confirm purge. When you purge it, at that point, if you want to undelete after that, it will not allow you to undelete because it is gone, permanently deleted. See, gone. Clear all the operations of a table? Now, what if I want to create some rows in contact? Just create it from scratch. Contact has what? First name, last name, and it should have account ID, right? I don't need the ID field, right? So let's see if it is a Rapti. These two I want to create. Which account will this belong to? I have to choose account. Let's me bong bong. So I can grab this ID from here or from my Workbench. Place it on both. And I save it as contact new. Right? And I have to choose this as CSV file, comma, delimited. Okay. Contact new save. So you see there are already three contacts, right? Shobhanjit, Mahua, and Aritro. Now, if I go and insert it once now, this time I will be inserting on contact. You see, I am pointing account ID to account ID, last name to last name. The first name, it did not map, so I mapped it. Map fields, confirm insert. 2 records created. How do I ensure? If I go there, all contacts, I see what are this Rapti and Korthwa got created, both associated to Bong Bong. That means when I go to Bong Bong, I can see these two already created here. You see? So if you want to create records, then you have to extract the parent record ID to create the lookup. So this field, which we filled up, the last one, is the lookup field. And lookup field only stores record IDs, right? And parent record IDs, right? So this is storing the account ID from the account table. So I have to fetch it from account table, store it into this and upload it to the contact table. Please remember this. Relationships is the parent ID, not the these two columns now also have ID field, which is generated by Salesforce. If you want to now update these, then you have to use these IDs. Otherwise, Salesforce will not allow you to update records. Any questions so far?
Animesh, one thing.
Yeah.
Two names can have the same ID.
No. ID is unique in Salesforce, just like your passport ID, passport number. You cannot, a passport number is not replicated. Yeah, Aadhaar card name is not same, right? You cannot uniquely identify a person if the number is same.
Okay.
So ID field is generated by Salesforce. Salesforce makes sure that the field is unique.
Okay.
That value is unique. But in order to use this field, the only problem which we see is that you have to go back, fetch these IDs, and then create the child records, right? Very difficult process. When you're working with 2000 accounts, 2000 contacts, if you want to create, and probably there are many contacts which associated multiple accounts, hundreds of accounts, manually fetching and doing that, it will be a tedious task, right? What is an alternative? Is there an easier alternative? There is an easier alternative. Let's see that. Let's go to the account object once again. Instead of using the Salesforce ID, I can have my own ID and I can use it. I will create a text field and I can say it is my ID. Right? I can make it required. I can make it unique. Unique is required, is important, because when you are doing it manually, there is no guarantee that you are not making mistakes, right? So always mark this as unique if you are using external IDs. And of course, this is very important, external ID. You have to mark this as external ID. Then only Salesforce will allow you to use this field as an external ID. So field name is not external ID, please remember, it is a type. So now I am adding this field into, I have not made it required, but you should always make it required also. So I have created a new field called my ID. Now see the same step in loading data. When you are loading thousands of data, see how simple this now becomes. So now let's first create account. So I will create some account, maybe account 1 to account 10. And I will also populate the my ID field. And this time I will put some values. This is my own value. My unique sequence, right? I can do that. So now I save this file. Instead of using Salesforce ID, which is auto-generated by Salesforce after insert, here in my insert itself, I am giving account new external. And same, I have to use CSV. Please remember, Salesforce will not be able to use Excel sheets. CSV file only. Account, and I have put my own ID in account. Now let's insert this once again. This time I'm going back to account. Choose the account new external. Name field needs to be mapped with name field. And my ID field is created. I have to log back into Workbench once again, because new fields are will be available only when you log in once again. So I will go to account once again, choose the account. Next. So I will now map the name field. Let's see if the my ID field is available. Yes, this is the my ID field. It has the underscore C because it's a custom field created by me. I will now map my ID column of the Excel sheet and map these two fields and confirm insert. So I have now created 10 accounts. Right, these are the accounts. I can see the my IDs also if I choose to add my ID. You see, other accounts don't have it. Only these accounts have my IDs filled up. What it does is that it makes the loading of child objects easier. Now I have my contact again. First name, last name, and account ID is there, right? Same. I have to load these three fields, right? First name is C1 for contact 1. Just load 6 contacts or 10 contacts maybe. Dummy names. Instead of using now the account ID, Salesforce IDs, I am now using my own value. 101. First 5 contacts I associate with 101 and 102. The second 5 contacts I associate to 102. And I save this. Right? Now let's see how it works. Will Salesforce allow these values in account ID? Let's check this. So I now go to contact. Instead of using Salesforce IDs, I am now giving my ID. So it is the contact. Choose the file. This is XLS, sorry about it. Next. Account ID is now mapped. Last name is mapped. First name I have to map. Map fields. Confirm insert. Failed. Why? Salesforce is expecting Salesforce IDs on that account ID column, right? And you are providing your own column. So this will not work. So what is the alternative? I choose the same. And I have to tell Salesforce that basically I'm not providing you Salesforce ID. I am providing you the value of my ID. You please replace my ID with Salesforce ID while inserting. This is the smart lookup. Here, I tell Salesforce that this is the smart way of handling it. I am providing my IDs. Please replace this with Salesforce IDs. Now, if I do map, confirm insert, all created, bingo. So if I now go to account 1, I see 5 contacts created. If I go to account 2, I see next 5 contacts. So it so simplifies the whole process. You don't have to work with Salesforce IDs at all. You can forget about Salesforce IDs, create your own IDs and use it for insertion. This external ID is used for relationship building. Please remember that. So if you have to create the external ID at the parent side, so that you can use these IDs in the child loading. Please remember that. Because in child, you need the parent side records to associate. Instead of going with Salesforce IDs, you can create your own IDs and use it for loading. It makes so simpler when you're loading data from other systems or creating your own data from Excel sheets. Probably you have your own serial numbers, right? Use it. Load my ID with your own serial numbers and then you can associate it. You don't have to go back and check and like use the Salesforce ID for doing this kind of relationship building. Any questions so far? All the same operations you can do using 2 import wizard. Go to data import wizard. It gives the same process of doing all these operations. It does it in asynchronous process. You can use standard object, add new records, drag and drop CSVs, or you can choose file. Same. New external. Next, you can change this my mapping here. Account name should be name field only. Remove the contact name. This is the mapping you have done. Name field with account name. My dear will account name. Next, and start importing. Simple. This will create a job for you. Okay, it will take you to a job. It is asynchronous importing. It is not asynchronous, so you don't get the result right away. You go and view results later. It will show you that how many got created. So there is a duplicate value. It did not allow you to get created because same ID was there, right? We ticked that. So this same Excel sheet will not import it. So same, you can use dataloader.io. Another thing which you can also use, launch dataloader.io. This is another tool which you can use for this all operations. Allow this just like Workbench. New tasks, and this is the import we have to do. It will show you videos how to do that. A little go through these videos in details. Get started. A new task. You can import. We can do an import of which object, account object. Upload CSV. What is the map field? You can select the ID to ID. My ID. Name to name field. You can change this. Next. Save and run. Yeah, it will run and it will show you the results after the import is all done. Okay. It's cute. It will run it after some time. So please use these tools, run and check this, learn by yourself and do this data uploading using multiple tools. So all are given by Salesforce. So that's not a problem. You can use these tools and import data on bulk. That is very important. Okay. Any further questions? Great. If no further questions, then we'll stop for the day. Please start practicing these at home as well as go to the trailheads, how to load data. And this is one of the first job of an admin is to work with bulk data.